all of that is they're seeking a future aim, isn't it? So they're not looking at all at today. They're not looking at the problems people face or the world as it is. So they're away. Their heads in the clouds. Their heads in an ideology of we must see this. This is how the world shall be ordered. So their order is to seek an idea into a future to fruition, and then there'll be another idea after that, because that's the way ideologies go. Desires like that don't rest in one place. So you come to the next thing. What's been put down will rise up, and what rises up will need put down again, and that goes on and on and on and on and on. And so the turmoil of humanity is complete. It's never ending circle of distress, destruction, sorrow, and death. But I want to question, is there a route to all of this? Is there something that we could get at that if we change the route, the whole thing just shrivels up and dies? Just
Yeah, there
yeah,
is.
yeah. That's quick.
Yeah.
That's quick. Einstein. What is it?
Well, maybe I cannot like name it because I maybe don't have a name, but um for example, if I'm filmmaker, yeah, like you said that you have an aim and you just want to do it, you just don't see anything else, and you as you said, you live in the future and you destroy everything around. For example, if I want to be the best filmmaker, I only see that, and I destroy my relationships, I destroy people, I destroy myself, even my health, etc. But yeah, it also makes no sense, right? So if you look in yourself, yeah, you can see that you created this concept of filmmaker and all that stuff. So
Whoa, 1 second. Yep, you created it. Who's the you that created it? It's important. Who is the you
this brain created the concept of
that
filmmaker.
brain created the concept of you are a filmmaker and you're a good filmmaker? Yeah, I'm one of
Yeah,
the.
I like to think like that.
Yeah, well, but that's not so pretty. I think like that. I have the right to, because I'm looking as an observer. I look at your work and I admire the work that you do. It's tasteful. It's got depth. It's you take time, obviously, with your considerations of framing and all the necessary little additions that a filmmaker has to make. Someone who's looking, you make it into an art form. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I make different films. I throw any old stuff together and talk over the top of it.
Yeah,
But
but it's good thing that it is all about the message in your film.
yeah, yeah,
So
yeah, yeah. It's a different form. No, it's a
I
different
have
form.
almost no message.
You're an artist. You're an artist.
So
You paint on a canvas of a video palette. Yep. Now, coming back, where were we? Where were we before we got lost in our admiration of each other's work? Where
yeah,
were we?
that's my brain. Okay, this brain created the concept of the filmmaker.
Yeah, as it creates the concept of you.
Mhm.
Yeah. Now, I wonder if you really see this.
Yeah,
I
I
wonder.
understand this. Maybe not. I don't know if I say it, because if I would say it, then I would
You'd be
have.
liberated.
Yeah, exactly. So maybe I understand this because even the science knows it. So it is not like.
The god of science.
Yeah, exactly.
Um, they're caught in a tremendous illusion.
Yeah. As
The same
or
illusion that every member of humanity is caught in.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, everyone is like focused on its own illusion. So that's what. Yeah.
Coming back to previous discussions, the background being past experiences recorded into the brain, which arise, and the brain views the world through these as thinking, which color the perception of the world that lies behind.
Sorry, I lost.
I'm a Catholic. I'm not, but I'm a Catholic. I've been educated since this high that I'm a Catholic. I've been told I'm a certain name. I've been told I'm a certain nationality. and I grow up looking at the world through this because that information is recorded in my brain. It becomes really important, like the vital center of what I am. And that limitation to life, which is a limitation because life is a much broader field than that, that limitation colors how I see the world. So I lean more towards Catholic things. I lean more towards security for my nation, not so much for yours. And you're doing exactly the same, but from an orthodox viewpoint or a communist viewpoint or a whatever viewpoint, you've been educated differently. And so your limitation and my limitation come to clash, and that brings the conflict in the world. And so the root of all conflict in our world is the human self.
Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. So we've come to the root, haven't we? It's the self.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Not a matter of agreement, not an ideology. We see it to be so.
Yeah. 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 Right.
Yeah. Okay. Not an acceptance of words. Yeah, it seems to be. And yeah, that's good. I'll tell somebody else about it. No. but but this is real. This is actual. The human self is destroying humanity because it's divisive. It lives in the past. It values concepts of itself based on past experiences and education more than it values. In fact, it's lost perception to the present moment. It's lost perception to seeing without concepts.
Well, what do you think about language? Because I think when, at least from my perspective, if you're learning the new language, at least I saw that um you actually create like another person, if that makes sense. And
Yeah,
you
yeah,
use
yeah, 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 yeah,
creation.
yeah, yeah,
So,
yeah, yeah. When you're learning a language, you're kind of learning you're learning about the people who speak that language, aren't you? Because, yeah, certain things don't translate directly and they're not even translatable, although they might come close. But it tells you something about the approach to life that and other people have, no? Yeah. I think there's great value in learning other cultures, not just languages, but religions. Contrasting one religion with another. Like, how does Taoism compare to Catholicism? Well, the two are entirely different. And I don't think that you even begin to see the background that you carry yourself unless you've got such a contrast. How can you? If that's all you have, you know?
mm.
Hmm?
Yeah, but maybe it is something similar that um if you're a child, you just learn these words, um these things, these boxes that you can put some
Yeah.
ideas, So
Yeah.
for
This is
example,
religion. This
yeah,
is,
yeah, for example, this is phone, and then I created this box, that this idea that if you have um this parts, this creates this, right?
yeah.
So
So we
and
divide up the
maybe,
world.
yeah, and in the beginning it is just an ideas, but then it becomes pretty real, right? These ideas becomes like, yeah, it is a phone. I see only this phone. So maybe it is because of the language that if that you then but first you create these little ideas, and then you start to talk, and then you become this idea that you're this talk. Maybe it is something like
Well, I
this.
think I think you become the idea that you're the talk. It's school that does this. It's school that corrupts us to this. No, because first of all, in the scholastic years, there's the emphasis on memory. Everything's memorizing. Apparently, memorizing is learning. No, learning's not memorizing. Memorizing's repeating what someone else has told you. That's not learning. But that's what learning is disguised as in this crazy world.
So what is learning? So
Seeing, seeing, being open to see, to watch, to let something else tell you about itself. To have an
yeah,
input.
and then you create an idea, right? Because
No, no,
pretty,
no, no, no. Then you've stopped learning.
yeah,
And
but for some reason we created language, right? Like every tribe
communication,
created it.
communication, huh?
Yeah,
Communication.
yeah, communication. So if you want to tell me something, for example, about this strange tree that you found in the forest, you,
Mm.
you have to like create some ideas, because if not, you wouldn't be able
Okay,
explain.
so you're saying that language has a place in communication. Agreed. Agreed.
Yeah, so
But
also
but
you
but
have to create, also you have to create this idea, because language is an ideas, right?
so do you know the word idea? You know the etymological meaning for the word idea? Do you know what it was?
No.
To see. It wasn't anything to do with picturing an image in your head. It was to see. That was the original meaning of the word idea. How we've corrupted so many words. Idea meant to see. To see. Understanding comes through seeing, not through ideologies. It doesn't come through, because ideologies are in the realm of thinking, and thinking is narrowed down to the field of the past, the limited field of knowledge that we can conceive of. If you didn't know what the word tree meant, I could tell you there's an amazing tree, and you'd be like, oh, I don't even know what this guy's talking about. If you didn't speak my language, you're lost. No, so there's a great limitation still in ideology. You walk with me, I come and take your hand and take you through the forest and just go like, you're like, wow.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
can do
And
that, but
yeah,
this,
and
it is not
behind all the words and the images, there is something there which is unrelated to them all. And that's the truth of the matter, no? So finding the truth is the stripping away of all these ideas and words and images and explanations and discourses and religions,
so.
which
So
are no religions at all.
how can I show someone the tree without creating the idea inside him, right? Without destroying, just to take him
Look,
to this place, right?
look, look. And I think herein lies the problem. And I think also herein lies why. Excuse me, I'm going to move this around a little bit. It's just not quite in the right place. Oh dear, oh dear.
So what if I cannot go with him to
Then
this
you
place?
can't see the tree. It's simple. No? And come tomorrow, or when you can go with them, no?
Because
Or
it
don't.
is the same what we are talking here, right? You cannot take me to this understanding, right? Only I can go there, right?
Right. And words are the unfortunate only means of communicating it. So you're communicating something which can't be held in words. So the person has to hear the words, not accept them, but find some meaning, some sense in them to hear that the words point to something. So the words are a signpost saying, trees over there. Yeah. So you follow the words,
Hmm.
questioning all the time. Now, the human mind is an incredibly, at least I have found it to be so in over 40 years of study, an incredibly arduous place to enter at times. It's a conflicted place, naturally so, because knowledge is divisive. No, I've got this idea against that idea, this desire against that desire. We've got the area of the thinker and the thought, the permanent entity, which arises in thinking because of education, because education says, well done, you did a good job when you passed that test. No, you didn't. Memory did a good job. So you see the delicacy that's needed in language to communicate well. Now you see that, don't you? It's memory that did a good job. But by giving the child the certificate, hang it on the wall, identified to name, the name becomes the child. The name becomes represented by I must be that movement inside. I am the thinker of thoughts because I'm something permanent. A name points to something which is at least semi-permanent. The desk. Yep, the desk is here. It will be here tomorrow. No, so I'm here, so I must be here tomorrow. Thought's fleeting. And so I become a permanent image within the field of the flux of knowledge. Huh?
So there is no me, or there is a real me somewhere.
No me. Real me. Does it
No me.
matter? Well, it doesn't matter because you try to put into words that which can't be put into words. Does it really matter? Yeah, you could say no me, or you could say I am everything there is. It's the same thing, isn't it? Let's look at this a bit closer. We found the root. We found the root of the problem. The root of the problem is human self. Okay. Coming back. So the self. Let's look at the World Economic Forum. Okay. Yep. Headed by, bankers, of course. Who else? Yep. The people who have commanded control of the world for centuries. Yep. Not attacking you, Mr. Banker. We are observing. We are observing together. A natural phenomenon in a world where everyone is seen as being something divided from everyone else, in a world where order has come to mean authority, in a world where authority has come to demand a control to people seeing things their way. This is our structure, isn't it? From the classroom as children, to the political system, to the army, to religion, with their priests, their bishops, their cardinals, and their popes. It's the same movement everywhere. Yeah. The ultimate of insults, I think, has been religion to this world. Yeah. Behind communism. I think the ultimate of insults has been religion, because it's not religion. Not religion is.
Yeah, it is about the power. It's not.
Authority is the denial of religion. How can you find anything about your life for yourself through the insistences of another as to how you do it? It's a joke. It's an absolute joke. So there's this structure which is coming out of the human brain. Is it because of the observer and the observed? Is it because of the thinker and the thought? Is it the thinker trying to order thinking? Is it that movement flowering in activity outwardly?
Yeah, probably. Yeah, it makes sense.
There's a similarity there, isn't there? The division between us all. I'm a Catholic, you're a Protestant. I'm more important than you. You should see things my way. So a battle to get the most power and then to take control of the whole field. I'll force you. Either you will obey me or I will destroy you. This is our history, isn't it? Burning at the stake of heretics, people who dared to question, which is the same. Okay, they're not saying,
If we hate ourselves, because we do, right? Because many people just don't like what they are doing. They do not control themselves, and they in them there are few peoples, and maybe they don't see that, but there is, right? Then how can you not project this hate to the others, right? And to do the same, right?
If you're confused, every action you take is going to be confused, no? Yeah. If you hate, then your actions are full of hate, no? If you are intolerant, right? Intolerance is a bad word, isn't it? I mean, we're always talking about tolerance almost as if it's a virtue. You don't talk about tolerance unless intolerance is present. The movement, the movement to be tolerant is intolerance, Yeah. The movement to always improve society, build back better, is a sure sign that it needs looked at. There's something not right with it if you need to build it back better, which of course there is in every field, in every area, in medicine, in religion, in government, in health, food. Everything is wrong. Wrong meaning not natural. Okay, natural. Rain falls on everyone.
What is the way then you should see the opposites of the coin? For example, I see this polar opposites, right? And what I should do then?
Let's not say should. Okay, should is an ideology again. No, should is a contrast between what is and what I should. So there's a division. So there's conflict. No, I don't think there's any choice in action. I think action comes from seeing clearly. If you see two paths and you see one leads to certain despair and one leads to harmony, where's the choice? You don't choose. You don't say, "Oh, should I go down the road of despair?" No, you don't. You don't do that, do you? So choice is a matter of not seeing clearly. No, so I don't think there's any should. I think there's great value in just in observing what's actually taking place. Coming back to the root of the human self, this divisive movement of words and images within us, the content of consciousness, which is consciousness, the division between the thinker and the thought. Coming back to that, the division, and so the conflict between the thinker and the thought, which anyone who thinks can see if they're at all awake, they don't just glue their eyes to Netflix all the time. Get lost in entertainment, religious and otherwise. Coming back to that, is there an action here which, like an aching tooth, could act on the cause, change the cause, and so the effect of this incredibly disordered society, being ordered by disorder, would just fall down?
But isn't there the same trap that, for example, you see that there is a problem with you, right? And then you create this virtue, like the polar opposite of this, and you're trying to repair it,
The
right?
should be, that's the should be, isn't it? Yeah, I'm unholy, so I'll
So
go
I,
for, so I'll aim for holiness.
yeah. So
So
in
so
this sense,
let's
mhm,
so let's look at what's involved in that. No, I'm unholy, and so I create a concept of holiness, which is an idea, isn't it?
mhm.
It's not factual. I'm not holy, but I'm going to travel in time, which is what the World Economic Forum is doing, isn't it? Yep. We see a world which needs to change. They're right there. They're right up to that point. We see a world which needs to change. So what do? We'll create an idea as to what the perfect change would be, which is naturally limited because we only have our experience and we're self-centered, as everyone is. And so we will move in time towards what we desire. Now, others won't desire that, of course not, because they've got different experiences. Tough. So we'll manipulate, we'll cajole, we'll bribe, we'll burn, we'll do anything to achieve the ideology, destroying that which needs to be brought to harmony. Hmm? We'll end up perhaps with our concept. It's not going to be nirvana for humanity because we're moving towards an idea. We're moving towards something that doesn't have substance. Hmm? Okay? It's not going to be a harmony. Even if they think they're going to sit as kings and it's all going to be wonderful for them, it's not. It's going to be the same pattern repeated. The humanity will continue to degenerate. Consciousness of humanity will continue to degenerate.
Mhm.
What if I don't create the opposite? Where am I left with? Well, as I see the illusion of that, okay, I'm unholy, I'm disharmonious, I'm living in conflict and
Yeah,
disorder.
so but if I see that if I am unholy, then at the same time I see there is a polar opposite, right? Because if to see the bad, you have to see the good, right?
No. Why? Are the bad and the good related like that?
Yeah,
Are they? Are you
because
sure?
good don't not yeah, good do not exist without the bad, right?
It's good to not exist without the bad. So the good is not something the bad can reach to. The bad can't move in time to become the good. The bad has to end. And then the good is. So the bad is like light, it's like light and dark, no? The
Mm-hmm.
You turn on a light in a room and the dark immediately vanishes. You switch a light off in the room and the light's gone and the dark's back. And it's the
Yeah,
same
and
thing. And
they
so
both
so
needs
say again,
themselves, right? They both needs themselves, right?
why?
Because as you said,
One
yin needs
denies the
dark.
other. One denies the other.
Yeah, but they create the other because
They create
if
they
you have
create
only light,
they create the other in terms of measurement. I think you have to be very careful here, because
mhm,
if you insist there's a relationship, but I'm saying there's no relationship between the two. I'm saying they're completely different fields. If you create a relationship between the two, then there becomes a possibility to move from one to the other. It's like bad's over here and good's over here. And you get the feeling that, bad can be bettered in time. This is the World Economic Forum, isn't it? It's also traditionalized spirituality. Know that I'm not holy today, but in time, give me time, and I'll become a little more sacred every day until I'm a saint. Yep. I don't think that the revolution that humanity needs to meet has anything to do with any type of a movement. I think it's as fast as you turn on the light. The darkness ends, the light's there. You've reached the destination without taking one single step. The confusion ends, you're not confused anymore. You can't move towards an unconfused state carrying confusion with you, because there's only now, really. There's no time, no? So any step I take if I don't change, and when can I change? When is the time for action? I can only act now.
But if I have a cup, right?
Yeah. Hmm?
And if this cup is dirty inside, then yeah, there is polar opposite, right? Like the dirty cup and clean cup, right? So if I want it to be clean, then I have to take time to clean it, right?
That's different. That's a different thing. We're not talking about dirty and clean. Dirty and clean are related that way.
Yeah, and
Good
there
and
are
bad, good and bad are not.
But you
Good
can
and,
be in the middle, right? Like little bit bad,
no, I'm
little
not
bit.
moving. I'm not moving. I'm not moving from here. I maintain that good is the negation of bad. Good is the ending of bad. Where the good is, the bad can't be found. And the bad can't travel to the good. The bad can't travel to the good. If the bad travels to the good, the bad is in a state of continuity. And so it's not ending. It needs to end for the good to be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but hmm. So if I see the bad, at the same time I create the good, this
No,
idea.
but then I have to be aware that that's a trap. I have to be aware that my creating the good is coming out of the bad.
Yeah, but
There you go. My creating the good is coming out of the bad, isn't it? The bad hasn't ended, so anything I create is bad, including the good. So my good is bad. I wouldn't be creating that good to move towards unless there was bad. It's like I saw something. I'm using an ozonator just now, okay, to try to repair this chronically sick body, thanks to, I won't say thanks to what, thanks to what, but I'm using an ozonator, a medical ozonator. Okay, I bought it. I was ill some time ago, and I was really ill, and I bought this thing. It was very expensive. It's an ozonator. You know an ozonator, don't you? This is a medical ozonator. Okay, so it produces really high quality ozonated water. Okay, and I saw it. It's got a sticker on it, right? And I just along the lines of what we're talking about just now, the sticker reads, "Never waste an opportunity to improve your health." And I read that as I walked past when I was making the coffee there. And it occurred to me, but never. It sounds noble, doesn't it? It sounds like, yeah, that's a good thing to do. Never waste an opportunity to improve your health. If you're improving your health, if it needs improved, it's not good. You see? So anything that's being improved is in a state of continuity of badness.
yeah, and you cannot just snap your fingers and have a healthy body, right?
No, because what's snapping its fingers is the bad, which has to end. Can I remain completely with the bad without creating a concept of the good? Can I surround myself in darkness?
So for example, I'm sick, right? For example, I know I have problem with muscles, and I have to be more stretched. So I cannot just just
You're
see
back
that I.
again. You're back again looking at particulars that can be improved in time. We're talking about the revolution of human consciousness. It's something different. Okay. Yes, I can take time to learn a language and become very fluent in it in time. Okay. I learn a word. I learn a word in a language a day, and in a year I've got 365 new words. I'm able to speak that language much better. Okay.
Mhm.
I only need a couple of thousand to speak a language. So in a year, I've got all the words I need, and then I need to start to use it in grammar and pick up the grammar and stuff like that. Not learn the grammar. You know what I feel about that. But
Mhm.
so in places there are, learning to drive, learning to play guitar. I play guitar. I'm a musician. Learning to play guitar, learning to sing. Some people are naturally born singers. They have an ear for their voice that other people don't have. They have to listen for it. So in most areas in life. So is it this? Is it that we've taken that natural necessity for time to move from one state to another in so many areas that we find in life, and we've taken that inwardly to ourselves, and so we get caught continuing
Yeah,
that?
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah, for sure. But what are the areas in life that you do not have to have time to improve?
the human self, consciousness.
So that's the only one, right? So that's why it is so hard to understand, because the rules are different here, right?
Hmm. Hmm. Human consciousness has never changed in all of our history. You know, this attempt at communism today for the whole world, this might be something novel. The biggest and the most affluent and the most self-interested have managed to find themselves together in one little club. But this has been tried how many times before? And we can see the pattern, we can see where it's going to end. The death of millions, perhaps billions. Yep, the misery, untold suffering to human consciousness, which is naturally carried on in the continuity of the new members of our race that are being born, because memory is held within the brain and it arises again. The consciousness of humanity is one thing. When you look at the consciousness of humanity, you're not looking at you. I think this is something really important to see. You're looking at every single member of humanity. The only thing that differs is the content which is based on the recordings past and the education. The movement is identical. The nature of the thinker and the thought is there. The movement of time, that I will progress in time. Yeah, I might be full of anger, jealousy, hatred, envy, seeking of pleasure today, but in time, I will become more, whatever it is I'm aiming towards, whether it's to be stupid king of the world or whether it's to be the next Messiah. I'm aiming towards that. I will become that. That's been the consciousness of humanity forever. It's never changed. And so change is not within the nature of human consciousness. It's not possible to act in that area and bring about change, which means knowledge has no place in the revolution of man.
So what is this consciousness of the humanity then? Like, if it is always the same, then
Well, it is, isn't it? I mean, look at the Christians today. Go back nearly 2,000 years ago, they were Christians. They were the same people who were worshipping the same images, the same symbols, going to similar, modified variations in time, but the same people. That consciousness is the consciousness of Christianity today. It's been here 2,000 years. Go back in time 10,000 years and you find Hindus. They're still around today. People who look at life through these colors. And the same divisions naturally between the two groups. Okay, Hindus and Christians are not at it today. At least
yeah,
we
but
don't. They are.
wouldn't you call it content? That
That's content. That's
for
content.
example,
That's content. Yeah, the structure is the same. The structure of finding security in symbols, which destroy security because they create a division between us. And where you find the division, you find the necessary ground for conflict, whether it's division economically, as in today, division, anything psychologically that we find that we divide. It's the only place we can divide. We can't divide in truth because we're undivided. We are humanity. We're not a divided race. We are intricately linked. Our lives meet in our consciousness. And if there's not a revolution in consciousness, then consciousness continues, of course. as it has done over thousands of years. It continues again. It
But
moves on.
don't the consciousness also change? Like, isn't that if
Modified change, modified version of what came before. Like, thousands of years ago, we killed each other's with clubs and rocks. Today, we've got atomic bombs and God knows what else, things, secrets.
Mhm.
Yeah, we've got wonders of ways of killing ourselves today, but we've never changed to stop killing each other, and so the consciousness hasn't changed. You see it? It's modified
Okay, so
itself.
if
It's
we would
become
stop,
more progressive.
so if we would stop the killing, then the consciousness would change, right?
No,
So in
no,
that,
no, quite the opposite way around. If consciousness changes, we stop the killing because the root of the killing is in consciousness. And the
okay,
divisive,
okay.
yeah, and the divisive nature of I am different to you based on my
So
carried
what
experience.
is this consciousness then?
Knowledge, quite simple. It's knowledge, it's memory, it's the
So the
past.
consciousness is knowledge?
Knowledge, it's what we know. Knowledge. Yeah. Knowledge is not the ascension of man. Knowledge is the destruction of man.
But you said that the content is not the consciousness.
The content is the consciousness. The structure that it moves within, which is part of the content also. We're getting into the semantics of it now, no? The structure it moves within. The thinker and the thought, the time factor, that I am here today, I have a past which I live in, which is the content, and that past continues into the future, progressively modifying. That's the same in all. The content differs because we have previous differing past experiences based on where we're geographically born into, the religion we are educated to, and other education. You've got a different name from me, different address, you know?
Mm.
Yeah. So these are the divisive principles. My life is of more value than you because I have 100 billion numbers, which somebody just pulled out of thin air, which I got from you. Which my profit came from you, but let's just ignore that. I don't see a connect. No, I'm the genius. I'm the guy who invented computers. I'm the genius.
Mm.
Yeah. And I take no account also for every invention which came before in consciousness, which allowed for the computer to be. Who invented electricity? I couldn't invent a computer without it. There are so many other factors. You see how consciousness builds on itself, but isolates itself in a very narrow, limited thing called self, which takes the what's the word I'm looking for? I am the genius. I am the master, not ignoring the ground of the past consciousness of humanity that I stand on, which has allowed my particular evolution to take place. And so my contribution really is for the world, but I take it to be me, mine, and I will control it then. I'm something special.
So no humans, no consciousness, right?
Right. I don't know. No humans, no consciousness. I don't know. Yeah, I guess. That seems plausible. Yeah. You destroy every human brain, then there's continuity of consciousness has come to an end. But that's a pretty dismal way of resolving the situation, isn't it?
Yeah, but in some time the universe will like
Take care
die.
of that.
Like,
But
yeah.
unless Elon Musk goes and populates Mars and then we go out to become a cancer on the whole universe, unless that happens, which technologically it might. Yeah, we evolve into machines. Evolving into machines. Oh my god! You know,
Mm.
the, but I want to come back again because I see something.
So
I see.
if we evolve into the machines, right? Because it is also a interesting question. If we get the content to the machine, then there is still consciousness or only content.
It's the
Like,
same thing.
yeah,
It's only
okay.
content. I mean, our brains are little computers now. It's the same thing. It's
Mm.
data. It's past knowledge. That's all. Forever seeking to become to progress itself towards completion that can never be reached, because knowledge is of the nature of the known, and the known is always limited to what's been experienced. And so there's never a whole state. Remember, the word whole is etymologically related to the word holy. Here we find a crossover, the link between knowledge and spirituality. Garden of Eden. Man was kicked out by eating from the tree of knowledge, because knowledge is never complete. The beauty of life is found in the completion of life. And yet knowledge never meets an arrival point. And so even if we merge into machines, those machines will be frustrated wrecks like we are, perhaps able to think quicker. You know, the world will change. We will change.
And maybe machines will like get to the nirvana and
The machines will destroy each other. The machines will be at war with each other, because the machines need programmed to begin their journey into knowledge, the same as we have been programmed. You're a Christian, you're this, you're that.
Yeah,
This is already happening. This is already happening. Google has its artificial intelligence gathering knowledge. Okay? Yeah. Gathering. Looking at all the Google accounts, just grabbing everything, working 1 billion times faster than we can work. Memory stored in a little chip, you know? Yep. Many little chips, big chips, quantum computers. Elon Musk, I read a while ago, said that he's about to start his own artificial intelligence in competition against that, because he doesn't like the way that one's going. Now you've got a division, because you've got Elon Musk, who's going to program his artificial intelligence to the way that he thinks it should progressively move, which is going to be in conflict, not a state of duality, against Google's, against Microsoft's. Okay. And so you've got the same pattern evolving. It couldn't be anything else. Knowledge is divisive. You're going to carry over the same problems into transhumanism, as Klaus Schwab gets excited over, God knows why, as we have in human consciousness. What's needed is a revolution.
But our brains are like these computers, so why other computers wouldn't find it out?
You can't find it through data. Data is the known. If the known could lead you there, you'd be there now, because you have the known. Okay, you think the ideology is that I need to know more. But the more you know, there's more to know. You know, I play guitar. I've played guitar for over 40 years. Huh? You begin by learning some basic chords. Some are difficult to play. I remember playing an F chord and thinking, I'll never be able to play this. You have to push 2 strings down at once. It's like an impossibility. The dexterity for, you know, the untrained finger. Then in time it becomes easy, and then you find even more complex chords. Then you find different tunings, different ways you can tune the guitar, and it's almost limitless. And then there are experimental. There are things like modes, and there, you know, it just keeps opening and opening and opening and opening and opening on every area. And so knowledge is a way of fragmentation. It's a way of breaking into pieces. And the field becomes larger and larger and larger. The more you know, the more there is to know. Because there are more.
We are the same as the universe, right? It also is expanding, and also there is entropy.
The universe
right?
is different. The universe is expanding in a completion. The movement of the universe is passion, love, completion, beauty, creation, sacred, not reliant on the past, dying as it lives. Yep, creation means dying as it lives. It's forever being created, which means it's forever being destroyed. So what was there a moment ago, you know, if you have any ability to have any kind of silence in your brain and you watch clouds passing over, you see how clouds form. They're constantly in a movement of changing. There's never a static movement. There's never a movement. You can capture a movement on a camera, but in the movement of life, it's a constant change. Some clouds disappear before your eyes. They get smaller and smaller and smaller and just go away. Some clouds just come out of nowhere. There's just nothing in the sky, and then all of a sudden, a little dot of white and something's emerging. Yep. But that movement is never static. It's a constant ending and rebirth and ending and rebirth. One thing merging into another. It's life and death together. That's the movement of the universe. We're caught in observing that movement through knowledge, which is a photographic memory of what came before, naming it and so categorizing it. And so we see it as something static when it's not. And so we come to fear death now because we feel that we are something permanent. These billionaires today looking for eternal life, looking for immortality, which is a fascinating word. I love that word. It just occurred to me the other day. I was speaking with a good friend about this. Immortality doesn't tell you what it is. Not mortal. It doesn't say what it is. It tells you it's not mortal. It's the denial of mortality. It's the denial of a duration in time. So immortality is not to be found in the continuity of a life lived in time as we live, but it's to be found in the ending of a life lived in time. Living and dying together so that every moment is new, so I don't carry anything forward. If I have an argument with my wife, I meet her the next day, I've recorded that argument, I look at her through that argument, I'm not looking at her. I'm looking at her and I'm colouring what I see, which is distorting. And that's what we do in every way. And here we go. This is good. This is good. We've led to this. And so, as the brain's been programmed to record everything, it also records its own inner psychological movements. Those recordings become the thinker. And so as I look at you through my past memories of you, I look at the movements of my own consciousness in the same way. And so I see something and I immediately quantify it, put it in a box. And so I'm not seeing it anymore. I'm seeing an image which is coming between me and the movement and consciousness. Coming back to the toothache, a good dentist has to look directly at the problem to find the problem. If he's already got an idea as to what he's looking at, it's going to distort his ability to view. Maybe a scientist's a better word. Scientists looking at something of great interest.
That's how scientists works. Like they create hypotheses, how keep. I know how to say it in English.
That's how scientists get lost. That's how they get lost. I would say more.
But you have created like something before you're looking for it, right? Because
then you're not looking. Then you're not looking. What does it mean to look? I think we're getting to the root of the matter here. We're getting to the action which can dissolve the problem. What does it mean to look? What does it mean to look? If I am to look completely, must I not be quiet?
Yeah, but also if you're a scientist, you have to take the notes. So you have to like observe and then create these ideas, right?
Observe, not create ideas. Let's stay away from ideas. Idea means to look, remember? If I'm a scientist, yeah, okay, I observe, but then my taking notes is something different, isn't it? I'm going to form it together and post something. No, I'm going to get my paper studied, researched, and whatever. So there's a purpose behind that. That's a different action, isn't it, than the actual looking? It's the looking that informs me of what there is to see, of course. It's not my thinking about it. My thinking is bringing my past knowledge to bear, which can only corrupt what I see.
Sorry. Yeah, but for example, if you're a scientist, you have a question, right? For example, if the plants can live without water for, I don't know, 1 month, right? So that and the hypothesis, how to say that? Hypothesis?
Hypothesis.
Hypothesis.
Remember this? Lesson number 1.
Hypothesis.
Hypothesis.
So the hypothesis is that the plants can live 1 month 1 month without the water. right?
then I'm directing what I'm looking at.
Mm-hmm.
And my observation, my understanding will be limited to the direction that I've set.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm? If I want to understand the plant, I just look at the plant. I don't begin with a hypothesis. Here we need to understand human consciousness, because coming back to the fact that human consciousness is the root area in which the malfunction is occurring, which is dividing us, economically, religiously, politically, ideologically, self-interestedly. Coming back to that, seeing the absolute necessity of understanding here, because unless there's understanding in human consciousness, then we're going to destroy everything, as we're destroying the air just now. I looked above yesterday. There was like 10 planes above this house. Chemtrails, about 10 different planes. It's shocking. I mean, this area isn't on any flight routes, you know? So
Mm-hmm.
and the government here says that this is contrails, this is natural. Well, why is there 10 planes above me? And these clouds come down that are getting bigger and bigger. The eyes don't verify what the information being received is. Huh? So if I want to see something clearly, I can't begin with a hypothesis. I just can't. If I want to understand the whole thing, I need to understand the whole of consciousness. I'm not saying let me understand the time factor of consciousness. Let me understand let me understand fear. Okay, although all of these have a place, I want to understand the whole thing, so that the consciousness, the totality of consciousness, undergoes a revolution. I'm implying that every movement of consciousness is destructive as it stands, because it's rooted in self. Every single one. So any movement at all is a denial of the action that's needed. So the action is complete inaction. If you're in a, if you fall into what do you call it? Sinking sand. That stuff that you pulls
Mm-hmm.
you down. Yeah. What a horrible death. Just gradually just,
Breathing the sun, right?
yeah. Oh my God. And then up your nostril. Oh my God. No. That's slow and yeah. If you're in that unfortunate position, the worst thing you can do is move. You know that?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
right.
The worst thing you can do is move. I hear the best thing to do is to try to like lay yourself flat
Yeah,
on the
yeah.
top. Yep. And
Mm-hmm.
that has a chance of leveling the body, and you can kind of crawl out. But if you're in it and you're like trying like mad to get out of it, the sand pulls you down. I think it's the same thing in here and within human consciousness. Human consciousness is like that quicksand. The more activity you become involved in, the more you engage that limited consciousness, which is the divisive process in itself and between us. And so the more you're pulled into. And so the action is to watch, just to observe it. And a remarkable thing can take place here, I think. Is the thinker really different from the thought? We've been educated what to think. Every Christian is this. Every member of every traditional religion is this. Every nationalist is this. Every politician of the left or the right has either been educated or has come to a conclusion that this is the way that life is to be approached. That knowledge is what sits in the brain. We've also been educated to see ourselves as an observer to that, as something permanent, which moves in time and continues and progresses. So we seek the continuity of that as our security. Left must beat right. So life becomes a battlefield between us because we're fragmented in the contents of our consciousness. So I am the problem. It's not, I go online a lot and I see people shouting about Muslims. The Muslims are the problem. Yeah. Well, Muslims have been orchestrated into the country they're going into just now by people with an agenda. Okay. Are they the problem? Muslims? No, of course not. This is not something new, the conflict between ideologies, religious or otherwise. Are the governments the problems? No. Again, it's nothing new. Go back to the times of Caesar, it was the same. Caesar was stabbed in the back for the same reasons that are taking place today. The problem is consciousness itself. Now, we've been educated in what to think, and we've accepted that as our security. I find security in being a Catholic because there are a billion of us. I'm part of a large group. It's not just me standing on my own anymore. Everyone else, a billion people see it the same way. And so here must lie something. I don't question and find out for myself. I've accepted the word of someone else. It doesn't matter if that someone else is, if it were even Christ himself, it makes no difference. His understanding is not mine. He can't give me that. If he could have, he would have changed the human race. He can't do that. A wise man can't give you his wisdom. He can only point at something. He can only say, look over there. Please look over there. It's up to you. You're free apparently to look or not to look. We've not been educated, and neither can you be, in how thinking takes place and how it arises within the human brain, how it divides, how it projects an image of you and an image of me within the same nature of consciousness, and looks at the image of you as if it's actually you. You exist out with of the images within any brain, as the tree does. Like you said, you need the words for the tree to point to this wonder to see in the forest. So to closely observe how thought divides itself, how it divides itself between me and you, and concept, religious belief and religious belief, and so creates within itself feelings of division, which tries to conflict. I've had an argument with a friend yesterday, and I create an image of him. I'm seething, and he's doing the same thing. But that image that I have of him is not him. It's a memory of him which is now taken seed in my brain, as I am a memory of myself. So the whole thing's in a structure of field of memory. Is it possible for the mind to be very quiet, not to be seeking the opposite, not to be seeking anything, no direction, but to become very interested in its own movement, and so allow thinking to start to become aware of the movement of thinking, thought becoming aware of itself. So to see how, when I talk inwardly, when the voice of the self is there, to see how these words are formed. Where do they come from? Where's the source of them? To see how another image might come. Where does that come from? How does that occur? Not to be asking that question, to be like a hawk, like watching, to see the nature, and not to be having a direction. So allow the whole field of memory to open up. I think in such a state, if you can do this, that you are beginning to understand how thinking works. When you understand how thinking works, you're free. When you understand completely how a conflict might arise within the brain, and it's seeing it that brings such understanding, not hypothesizing over it. No, it's seeing it as it arises, how the duality quality of it. something that has been a blessing in my long tormented life of physical illness. Really, seriously, it really has, because it took some time. But in the early days of illness, I was like lost in both physical pain, but also psychological reaction to the physical pain. And then I realized that I had two problems. You know, there was the physical pain itself, which is okay, but not okay, but bad enough. And then there's the psychological reaction to it. There's the brain going to, my God, what's the future? And memories of the past and hearing of people going on holiday, and I can hardly walk along the street. And the comparison of that, the misery it brings. And so an understanding that like, I can't do anything about the physical pain. And if the psychological distress continues, it can only worsen the physical pain, no? Because, it's all one. There's chaos here and there's chaos here. So an awareness of how a hawk eye watching of how here we go, not to be reactive to the surface arising of thinking, right? Like, okay, oh my God, oh no, I want to get away from this, but to dive deeper, come under here. How does it begin? Not to be reactive to the effect of thought, but to look at what's causing it. Am I communicating something?
Mm. Yeah. Mm.
I think there's something there. I really do. I think there's a miracle waiting to be discovered in that area. And I think that that's the revolution of it. Because when I understand, all thought comes from one source. It fragments into a billion different images and words, but the root of it is one. That's the root I need to get at, I think, to revolutionize consciousness. And so to change the world, because the world is a manifestation of the divisions in consciousness between us. So if I can understand how consciousness arises, the very seeing is the action which brings it to an end. I don't need to act. Seeing is action. The seeing is the doing. Seeing is the doing. Krishnamurti said that all the time. The seeing is the doing. We're there, aren't we?
Yeah, that sounds like a good method, right?
It's not a method. Don't say that.
I know.
See, if I approach it as a method, then I'm lost. You see this? Because the method becomes the observer, who's the controller, who's directing. Yeah. So I'm lost then. And this is the danger, isn't it? The danger is that I turn it into an ideology. I capture the words, but I don't engage in the action that's needed behind the words. Mm-hmm. So every problem can come to an end.
So how to get out of this trap? How to...
Well, there's no how to, is there? There can't be a how to. A how to is, again, a movement in time. Follow a method to get to there. So there's no how to. It's when the light comes on, the darkness is gone. When I see clearly enough the entire field of consciousness, what I would call good and bad, so I have to be willing to enter into an area which has been neglected by humanity. We've focused on technological advancement. We've completely ignored that which is involved in advancing. We've completely ignored the limited nature of it, and so the continuity of it, progressing in time, staying the same, modifying itself in the same pattern that it lived in before. We've never understood, to bring this thing to an end, that something new can take place. We're technologically far superior than we were thousands of years ago. We're just as barbaric as we were. We're identical in nature. Just as uncaring, we have no love for another. I mean, look where we are. We're floating in infinite space, in an infinite universe. We could be sitting singing love songs to each other. Instead, we're bombing, raping, destroying each other. And it's
But
all.
as you said, if the humanity dies, then the consciousness dies,
Mhm.
right? So what is the difference then? Like,
The difference is now. I mean, death is the future. Huh? Humanity will die.
hmm?
Yep, humanity will die. Nothing sure. Humanity will die. Species die. Like everything dies. But the now, that's the difference. The quality of what we are, the quality of what we meet, the nature of the society that we build for each other. Isn't that important? I mean, you know,
Yeah, maybe for me
is
because I am alive right now, right?
yeah. I mean, the future is death for all of us.
Yeah.
So can you die now? Because the future is now.
Hmm.
Unless we change, the future is what we tomorrow will be the same as what we are today. Not like today is the same modified as what we were yesterday. And so we need a death. I don't know. I don't know really what would happen to consciousness because consciousness has divided itself from the rest of the universe, human consciousness. I don't know what would happen to it if humanity dissolved completely. It might find an outlet somewhere else. I don't know. It's carried on just now from brain to brain. Hmm? The entire history, I mean, the brain's millions of years old, millions of years of evolution to form this brain. Consciousness hasn't changed. The brain has evolved. The brain has evolved carrying this consciousness as it carries various cells and blood vessels and all that kind of stuff. Physically, consciousness is also physical. It's memory cells in the brain. It's a physical thing. There's nothing spiritual about it. There is a spiritual side to life, which we can't touch because we live in this field of knowledge. So the
So
field of
what is the spiritual part of life?
the ending of consciousness, the being living as nothing. Obviously, something material isn't spiritual. If I say I am this, that's a material thing. A name must point to something which is materially divisible from the rest of the universe. Behind that, behind that, what? Can you go into that area just now? You can't, no?
So if the animals dies,
Hmm.
if the animals dies, that's correct. Um, then their their consciousness also dies.
Animals don't have this conceptual identity. Maybe domesticated animals. Huh? We
Hmm.
give them names and yeah, but limited. They don't go around. They don't go outside and think, "Oh, it's a beautiful day today." They don't conceptualize the world into images the way that we do. Animals, I think, wild animals, huh? They are a manifestation within the energy field of life. They are,
Hmm.
yep, they are the same thing. They don't have a division between them and the universe. They are spiritual. Trees are spiritual. Plants, grass. It's all it's all energy in limited form. You know?
Hmm.
The interesting thing is that like science, which I know you like, scientists measuring the universe have measured that there's a lot more going on in what we call empty space than there is in
Hmm.
matter. Yeah, matter is limited energy. Space, silence is infinite energy, infinite potential. So everything's born out of nothing, dies
Yeah,
back.
yeah, yeah. That's
Yeah,
true. Yeah.
dies
For
back,
quite some. Fluctuations, for example, right?
Dies back into the nothing. No, everything's born from that and dies back into that. And so death is the spiritual side of life, the non-continuity, the not carrying anything over, which is the denial of the consciousness that we have, which is the continuity in memory, which is the destructive nature of mankind, which is the revolution we need to find. Not Klaus Schwab's bunch. That's no revolution at all. It's just a repetition of things past. It's just continuity of a lack of vision.
Mm.
When a blind man leads blind men, they all fall down a hole. And that's what's going to happen again, unfortunately, unless we take as seriously as we take developing the art of war, the art of competition, the art of accumulation, unless some of us take seriously the art of investigating our consciousness, which is just to see it. Seeing is learning, to learn about it, not to accumulate memories of it, but to watch it, to follow it, to be it, to become it, to get to the very source of it. You get to the source of it, you've got to the cause from which all manifestations within it happen. And you're at the point that seeing the very root of it is the change.
Mm. Yeah, we will see.
We will see or we will not see. Huh? We will probably not see. It's probably going to go your way. It's probably going to be complete annihilation in a million years of these super advanced machines that are, is humanity the seed of the destruction of the entire universe? Might these machines calculate their way into space and start to create intergalactic wars?
Yeah, it will be fun.
Let's just finish up on this here. The Hindus have a really interesting little philosophy. I can't remember what they call it. Alan Watts told me about this, not personally. No. Kalpas. Is it kalpa? You're familiar with that phrase, kalpa? No, I think it's a kalpa. There's a measurable length of time. Okay.
Oh yeah, maybe that
Yeah,
is so
yeah,
long, right?
yeah. It's. I think they mark it at 14 million years, but that's just it's a number pulled out of thin air. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And they say that like but I think also this is romanticizing and giving sense to something. So taking away the necessity from the necessity to good God, we've got to understand this problem to change it if there's a possibility to change it, because otherwise there's order here. Everything's, and perhaps there is order here. Perhaps they're right, but perhaps you can, it's an order of disorder, but perhaps it's possible to step out of the disorder, to jump the next 14 million years. So you don't have to go through all that 14 million years of suffering.
Mm.
So the hypothesis is this, that the universe, God, if you like, life, is one movement. It's complete, it's harmonious, it's blissful. And it carries on for, I think there are 7 kalpas, if I remember correctly. It carries on for a kalpa like that, like 14 million years. Everything's just so good for everything that's alive. Second kalpa, if you compare life to a flower, God, life, the universe, gets a bit bored with everything being perfect all the time. So starts to dream a little, starts to lose itself. And the flower's beginning to get like a brown patch on a petal somewhere. There's something just not quite right. Third kalpa, it gets more divided from itself. Fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh. I think I'm right in saying there are 7 kalpas according to this mythology. And according to their mythology, we are knee deep in the 7th kalpa. And in the 7th kalpa, God has got so lost in its own dream that It's totally fragmented, and everything is at war, and everything's about to blow up. And it does.
Isn't that like repeating itself
Yeah,
all over again?
yeah. And it does blow up. And when it blows up, it comes back to the realization that it's all one and it starts all over again. And that's
Yeah.
their cycle of life. But that's hypothesizing and
Yeah.
giving sense to that. You could rest in that and think, oh, well, everything's okay then. You could,
Yeah, if it is repeating itself all over again.
go ahead, Klaus and Schwab. You are
Yeah,
this. Yeah,
exactly.
you are that.
Just wait like 14 billion years and everything.
Yeah, everything's going to be fine. Just hang on there,
Yeah.
So ended our talk today. However, we didn't stop talking at that moment, and I wish I'd actually let it running. And so I'm adding a little addition here, just at the end, just to explain. The purpose of these videos is to point out the absolute fact that human society is built from human consciousness. Our relationship together builds human society, and our human society is in crisis. It's the reason for the Great Reset. At least here, the Great Reset has legitimacy that a change is needed in our world. However, a change which is planned from human consciousness, as the Great Reset has been, can only be a modified continuity of what came before, because we're acting from thinking. Thinking is limited response to a problem which is total to the totality of humanity. And so we need to act differently than from thinking to resolve our communal problems. Otherwise, we're caught in the same processes we have been forever. And if you look back over the past 5,000 years of recorded history, there have been 15,000 wars, as there are still wars raging today. And so the change that's needed to bring about a revolution in our society is actually a revolution within our consciousness. A different human consciousness will build a different human society. The change is needed inwardly, which will take effect outwardly. And what developed between myself and Camille, which I'd like to point out here, I'd also like to say that we're going to have one or two discussions like this every week. So if there's anyone out there that's interested, keep posted on the website for further details as they arise, and as they're recorded, they'll be posted regularly. This is the new format that the website's going to take for just now. We started talking about the nature of the change and how a person might approach their own consciousness to begin this process of revolutionizing the brain cells of humanity. We've been educated to see ourselves as thinkers of thoughts. Now, my background is in the studying of the world teacher Krishnamurti's teachings for over 40 years, on and off, not continuously. It's something that I've recently become a lot more serious about, and partly because of my own life circumstances, which involve this world as well. And I see the direction it's been taken in as a totally illegitimate one, a repetition of previous attempts to bring order to a disordered world, which is nothing other than a modified continuity of the disorder that came before. We need to find a new approach to build a new world. And that's what this series of videos is going to be discussing and talking about. And I hope that you find it interesting, and I hope that there are people out there who find this subject of interest. So how might a person come to actually approach the revolutionizing of their own consciousness, changing this fragmented bag of words and images which we live as, and which divide us because it's built on a foundation of past experiences, memory, stored in the memory cells of the brain. What Camille and I later discussed, which really I should have left it recording and I wouldn't have had to have added this, but it's nice to be able to do so, to point out what this is about and where it's going to, and if you're interested, how you can keep in touch with the work here. We live on the surface of our consciousness. We think of ourselves as thinkers of thoughts, and so we're looking as an observer at something else, and this is a division. Wherever you get a division, you find conflict. And so we have conflict in our consciousness. You know this if you're aware of your consciousness at all. We have anger, frustrations, depressions, fears, things we wouldn't choose to have arise within us, but they're there, they're present nonetheless. We feel divided from these generally, and we do our best to cope. Some people need 3 million of us, apparently. Was it 300 million of us? Sorry. 300 million people a year are taking long-term antidepressants. That's a dissatisfaction with the nature of consciousness. It's that human consciousness which is responsible for our declining world situation. It's there that the change needs to be, not in any building back better of any outward structure, as well-intentioned or not as that movement may be. It's the consciousness of humanity needs to change. We need to get to the root of the problem and dissolve the root, and the effects change. If we have a loving, caring relationship for each other, not built on a foundation of the superficiality of how much wealth we've managed to grab and harbour to ourselves, not in a kind of a marketplace trading of, I love you as long as you do what I want you to do and behave how I want you to. If we genuinely hold love in our hearts, we build a loving world. We don't have love in our consciousness because our consciousness is memory, which is the stored past experiences remembered, which we continue in time. So I wanted to add this little kind of, sorry for all the traffic going past here. It's incredibly hot, so the door's open. So just, it's what it is. But how might we, as an individual, so-called, how might we approach this matter? Okay, because it's a problematic area. To look into consciousness can be an arduous affair. And we discussed this. We live on the surface. We, as observers to the mind, as divided as the mind has been educated to look at itself as I have a mind rather than I am a mind, and trained in what to think rather than how to think, we are not familiar with the moment-by-moment nature of the movements within consciousness. We tend to react to consciousness as though it's something happening within us, which at times need guarded against. And so there's this kind of inner fragmentation, division, which can create great conflicts in life. And a lot of our unpleasant experiences in life arise from within as well as without. So how might one begin to approach this? Well, given that we live on the surface, we can only be in a state of reacting to the mind, because we're the mind rises up and we are something here, it seems, and we experience fear. We want to run away from it. We want to suppress it. We experience depression. We don't want to experience it, and so we go to a so-named professional to try to help us out of this situation. Psychiatrists, psychotherapists, and others. We take drugs, but nothing really resolves the issue, because the issue is something inside of us which needs seen. We need to understand how consciousness functions. So what Camille and I discussed later, which I wish I'd left the recording on for, is that it's possible to look for and at the source of consciousness. Thought moves movement by movement, thought after thought, sentence after sentence, word after word, image after image. You can't have two contents together. One follows another in reaction. So it's like cause, effect, cause, effect, cause, effect. One needs to get to the very source of the movement, which is the beginning, the birthplace of consciousness. One needs to get to see where and how words form within the mind. And to do this, there needs to be a certain silence at the surface. You need to be quiet. You can't be directing through words or reacting through words and further images, because that just all clouds the issue more. You're looking through further screens. So you need to look at, you're looking at the source of thinking. Listen to the words, slow it down. You can do this. You can slow down consciousness. You find that consciousness can slow down, so the words can move not so rapidly. The images cannot be so flowing. If you can do this, get to the source of consciousness, then there's a potential for a revolution within consciousness, because the thinker is the thought. Every thought is a part of what you are. We've been educated to see things differently. And that's the greatest problem, is our conditioning. is our feeling that I am something permanent and I have a mind, and consciousness is something fleeting, and I'm, trying to make sense of all of this movement inwardly, which makes it impossible to effectively deal with outward situations. We're all divided in this inner flux, this inner continuity of movement, which takes all our attention because it's real, it's there. So can we be quiet on the surface? Dive deeper into consciousness. Look at the source of the movement, how the words form. To do this, you need to be quiet. You need to let your own movements talk to you. And so this is a process of thinking, revealing itself to thinking. Process of seeing how thought forms. You've never been taught how to think. Teach yourself how you think by observing how thinking manifests within you. And that's the potential for the birthing of a revolution within human consciousness. And so a potential real revolution in human society to stop this bloody warring, this division of nationality and nationality, religion against religion, ideology against ideology, to share wealth around. So it's not all mine and you can die because you're poor. The revolution needs to take place within. If this interests you, and I hope it interests some, at least some, then there's going to be regular 1 or 2 recordings like this a week discussing various approaches into this. Just wanted to add that little piece. So dive down deeper. Don't react to the surface. Be calm, be quiet, just listen. Look for where does thinking begin? Where's the source of it? So not so much reacting to what thinking's doing, be it fearful, aggressive, desirous, pleasure-seeking, depressing, not reacting to that, which is to sit on the surface and to allow the waves of the surface of the ocean to be either stormy or hopefully calm. But to get down below and to see what's the source of this? Still currents run deep. Get down, not reacting to the depression or the anxiety, but where's the source of the movement that created the ripples on the surface? It's difficult to put into words an action like this, but I'm doing my best, okay? I hope that you're interested in this series. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for staying the course, if you did, and catch you in the next one. Bye for now.